In his first term, well, I think he did a lot of great things. He learned a lot about how Washington works. He wasn't a politician. He showed up in town thinking, okay, I get this. There are two teams, the Republicans, the Democrats. The Republicans will all rally around me the way they did around Reagan, the last outsider we had as president. The Democrats will oppose me. That's the way it works. He never understood that half the Republicans, maybe more,
uniparty type of a deal?
Yeah, we're trying to get rid of him from the beginning. So now I would argue that he has a much better idea who the bad guys are, and I think he'd be much better in a second term. There is no other Republican who can win the next election because I believe that there's a subset of voters out there who are definitely not Republicans. They don't like Republicans. To them, the Republicans represent the country club. They're Trump voters. They won't vote for Ron DeSantis. They won't vote for any of these other Republican candidates. They might vote for Robert Kennedy Jr. if he could figure out some way to get nominated, which I think will be extraordinarily difficult, because I think, unfortunately, as much as I like him, and I disagree with him on a lot of stuff, but I like him a lot on some issues, they're going to kneecap him the way they kneecap Bernie Sanders. But some of these folks might vote for him if he could get to the general, but I don't see that happening. That's why I believe Trump is the only one who can win. These voters don't go for anyone else. They just don't vote. By the way, these are the voters that Mitt Romney couldn't get. These are the voters John McCain couldn't get. There's only one man who can get them, Donald Trump.
Are you saying RFK could get the nomination if he was a Republican?
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is he's chosen to run as a Democrat, and they've already rigged the rules against him. I mean, okay, he's going to go in the New Hampshire primary and the Iowa caucuses. That's great, but those states have been stripped of their delegates. So they're beauty contests.
They're doing what they did to Tulsi Gabbard, too.
I'd love for him to be Trump's vice.
I was first mentioned right here.
I was actually the first guy to say that. Steve Bannon, who's a piece of work, who
rips off everything Roger says and does.
He came out and put forward the idea, but there's a number of problems with it. First of all, you have what are called sore loser laws, which means if you ran were on the ballot in a state for the nomination, you can't then appear on the ballot that November as a nominee of another party or as an independent.
Gotcha.
Although you could argue, I didn't run for vice president, I ran for president, therefore the sore loser law.
You can see both sides of that because then you don't want to play spoiler against the person that beat
great
you.
minds think alike, you know what I'm saying?
But then beyond that, there are a number of states that specifically say that you can't appear on the ballot in that state as a Republican nominee for federal office unless you are a registered member of that party. And Robert Kennedy is not. So I think, unfortunately, I would also love to see a Trump-Kennedy ticket, but all Trump has to do is pledge, if I'm elected, I'm going to make this guy Attorney General. If I'm elected, I'm going to make him the head of HHS. And interestingly enough, when Robert Kennedy was on with Laura Ingraham, a great interview, by the way, she asks him, will you endorse Joe Biden if he defeats you for the Democratic nomination? He completely ducks the question. Well, I'd have to think about that. It's unlikely, but I'd have to think about that.
You just presented a change I'd really like to see before you go forward. The idea that presidents should tell us who their potential cabinet is. We should be voting for the whole team. Because you've been in this a long time. President Bush might have been a fine president. As soon as Cheney and Rumsfeld got involved, there's just no way.
Well, that whole situation is a bit more complicated. Here's the thing. By law, you cannot promise to appoint someone, so you'd have to say, for Attorney General, I want someone like Robert Kennedy Jr.
You have to couch it.
Right, in order for it to be legal. Otherwise, it's an inducement and it's illegal. But to go back to the other question, I think it is. I think that a bipartisan unity approach is the only thing that can save the country. I like what Robert Kennedy's doing. Now, that will be used against him. I know him. We're not close friends. I would call him an acquaintance. I met him once in my life. But they take that picture, the Biden opposition research people take that picture, and they put it all over Twitter. Stone urged Robert Kennedy to run. No, I didn't.
Opposition.
No, I didn't.
They're going to take your endorsement
Stone
as
is
controlled
advising Robert Kennedy. No, I'm not. I'm covering it on my daily show at StoneZone.live every day because it's interesting. Because I find what the guy doing interesting.
That's a pro plug right there.
That's a pro
See
plug. How we slid that in?
Stone Zone.
Pro. That's that. I got to take notes on that. That was so well done.
In case you didn't catch it, it's StoneZone.live. Every day at 5.
StoneZone.live.
Yeah.
Why do you think a third party can't get any traction in this?
It's very simple. Because the law that governs how to get on the ballot in the 50 states are written by Republicans and Democrats working together. So if you've got a spare $60 million, Yeah, I could get another party on the ticket because that's what it's going to cost you. And then the Presidential Commission on Debates, which is not appointed by the president, is not a commission, is most definitely not a debate, is controlled by Republicans and Democrats. So I didn't support Mitt Romney in 2012. I voted for Gary Johnson. I openly supported and campaigned for Gary Johnson, who's a very good friend of mine, a very good guy. But he should have been on the ballot. He should have been on the debate stage. So they set an artificial floor. Oh, well, you can't be on the debate stage until you're getting 15% in the polls. So the guy breaks 15%. You know what happens? They change the criteria to 20 because they're never going to let you on that debate.
Legal cheating.
That's what it is right now. It's 20% to get on the debate stage.
They can change it with one meeting, and they will. Okay. Here's what the criteria should be. If your candidacy is on the ballot in enough states to theoretically hit 270 electoral votes and therefore be elected, you should be on the debate stage. I don't care if you're in the Green Party, the Libertarian Party. If you're on the ballot in enough states to theoretically be elected, you should be in the debates. But the Presidential Commission on Debates, the co-chairs of which are the Republican National Chairman and the Democratic National Chairman, they don't want debate. There was a poll.
They're actually actively saying that now.
Right, they don't.
The only way to save democracy is to not debate.
Right.
Can't have anybody knowing what we're doing here.
Meanwhile, the climate is so polarizing between like the two main parties.
It's only getting worse. It's like all the money comes from the crazy or the greedy. There's no money in the middle.
Now this actually, if I remember the third party thing it's in New York. Remember in New York you had the problem with the third party not being allowed to even represent themselves in races, right?
And New York has a unique situation with there are multiple parties. You have the Republican Party, the Democrat Party, obviously, the Conservative Party, the Working Families Party. You used to have the Liberal Party, but in order to maintain your status, you have to get at least 50,000 votes in each gubernatorial year, and if you don't, you lose your permanent status. But you win the cumulative vote total. So Donald Trump appears as the nominee of the Republican and Conservative Party. You add the vote total together to determine who carries the state.
Oh, interesting.
It's a unique situation. Andrew Cuomo tried to kill it because the Working Family Party, which is a bunch of crazy leftists, never liked him because Andrew Cuomo's not a liberal. Andrew Cuomo's a gangster who believes in nothing whatsoever other than getting elected. And they hated him because he's not a liberal. He's not a progressive. He's a moderate Democrat at best. He was very late coming to same-sex marriage, a mainstay of their party. He was very late coming to legalization of cannabis, a mainstay of their party. They hate Andrew Cuomo. So the irony is Andrew Cuomo wasn't taken down by conservatives. Andrew Cuomo was taken down by liberals.
Left.
The left took him down.
That's one of the things that I think has been very interesting since the second Obama campaign, Obama's reelection campaign. It's almost like the Democrats, unleashed a golem among themselves, where they had to get that far left coalition to get over the hump. But now it's the far left coalition, the Justice Democrats and the far left progressives, who are eating Democrats. It's not Republicans who are beating Democrats in heavy left areas. Like AOC didn't beat a Republican.
Well, and they clearly have control of Joe Biden, or at least Joe Biden's apparatus. I mean, I have friends of mine who are Democrats who don't like Trump, and they're saying, "Look, Biden's a moderate. He's gonna govern from the center. Really, where? He's not governing from the center at all. If he even knows what day of the week it is."
That's true.
I mean, you talked about Kennedy. A Democrat like Joe Manchin wasn't an outlier when I was younger. Bill Clinton was a moderate. Bill Clinton would almost be seen as right wing today.
If John Kennedy were alive today, he'd be a Republican based on the record that I outlined earlier. So, the whole idea of the old Democratic Party, the party of Truman, the party of Kennedy, the party of Bill Clinton, not Hillary, the party of Bill, that party no longer exists. Their party's been taken over by radical socialists.
Is so it comes down to money. Where's this money coming from, right? It seems to me that global interests have infiltrated domestic politics. The money's coming from global interest. Is the threat of the World Economic Forum, the WHO, are these things actual real threats, or are they overblown in your mind?
I think they're real threats because they back them up with money. Look, George Soros has financed people who go on Twitter.
And now Alex Soros.
And Alex Soros, although I think it was always him, by the way. and advocating the assassination of Donald Trump. There's a crime. Mr. Barr, go pick these people up. What are you waiting for? But there is no equal application of the law. So they pretty much do whatever they want with impunity. The system is awash with dirty money, soft money, money that never gets reported anyplace. And that is who's financed to take over the Democratic Party.
It would be real interesting if they were investigating Biden the same way they were investigating Trump.
Well, the House Republicans are trying to do that, but those who keep hounding and screaming about the rule of law don't seem to have any problem with the FBI stonewalling a legitimate congressional request for documents and testimony from the FBI regarding what they've had on Joe Biden and his illegal acceptance of bribes for several years. There is every time you see a Democrat on TV speak about the rule of law, you know they're lying.